blizzard erased everything but the cone of the Plow's high beams. The clock on the dash glowed 2:47 a.m. Stephen's hands tightened on the wheel. Ahead, at mile marker 174, the shape stood on the shoulder. Long brown coat, back turned. Stephen's breath caught. He had seen this figure 11 times before. Always here, always now. This time, he pulled the brake lever. The Plow shuddered to a halt. He pushed the door open against the wind and stepped onto the icy asphalt. The figure did not move. No footprints marked the fresh powder around its boots. Stephen's gloved hand stretched forward, 5 feet away. The coat looked exactly like the one in his closet. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, the figure began to turn. A frozen click. The headlights died. All that remained was the storm. The story began weeks earlier, on a clear night, with a new kid in the cab.
You've been quiet, Cole. What's so special about this stretch?
You know what happened here in 1846, the Donner Party. 87 people, only half walked out. Then the railroad. Chinese workers buried in avalanches. They say you can still hear the picks.
Old ghost stories. You don't really believe that.
Every plow driver who's run this pass for more than a couple winters has seen something they can't explain.
Seen what? Somebody walking a dog in a snowsuit?
I am not joking, Chris. There are things on this mountain that don't belong to the living.
Halpern laughed it off, but he didn't know about the nights Cole kept a logbook under his seat.
He glanced at the dash clock. 2:47. Not tonight, but the number was already burned into him.
The first time was February 2014, a 5-foot whiteout on Donner Pass. Stephen Cole drove alone, the Plow's blade groaning against the drifts. The dashboard clock hit 2:47. Through the swirling white, a shape crystallized on the shoulder. A man in a long brown coat, back turned.
No car, no footprints. That coat, it's too familiar.
He slowed the Plow, but as the headlights swept the spot, the road was empty. No trace.
Dispatch. This is Plow 7. I got a possible pedestrian at mile marker 174. Requesting check. Negative. Nobody out here but me. Maybe the storm played tricks. Tricks don't leave an image that clear. I saw the wet wool, the set of his shoulders.
He finished his shift in silence, the heater blowing hot, but his fingers still cold. Before dawn, he pulled a fresh notebook from his locker and wrote the date, the time, and 3 words, mile marker 174. The logbook swelled, 10 more entries over 10 more winters, same mile marker, same hour. 11 sightings now. He ruled out fatigue, hallucinations, headlight tricks. But how does a trick repeat with such precision? In the 5th year, he passed so close he saw the fabric weave, wool heavy with old snow. Once, a second silhouette joined it, someone in pioneer clothes. It flickered and vanished with the headlights.
The pattern was too exact. It wasn't random. It was waiting for something.
He pulled Halpern aside. The kid had earned enough trust to see the book.
11 times? Cole, that's either you are the most unlucky guy on the mountain, or you need a vacation.
I ran every test. It's not fatigue, not carbon monoxide. Something stands at that mile marker on heavy snow nights.
Maybe it's a reflection, an echo of headlights off the granite, the old-timers say.
Stephen closed the book. The next one would be 12, and something about that number felt final.
Stephen spent a week digging into the pass's history. Old accident reports, newspaper clippings, county death records. Mile marker 174 had no notable fatalities, just a list of missing persons stretching back to the railroad days. So he drove to a dusty garage outside Truckee, where Frank, a retired Caltrans driver, now spent his days. The old man's voice cracked as he told of his own encounters. Partner who laughed it off. then vanished. Frank stared into the shadows. If you see the same one more than 12 times, the road keeps you.
12 is the trigger. I have 11. What does it even mean for the road to keep someone?
Frank described the partner's empty plow, found at mile marker 174. Engine still running, door wide open, no footprints.
I can't let that be me. I have to avoid the next encounter. I'll trade every night shift from now on.
But the winter was far from over, and the storms were getting worse. He opened his logbook and underlined the next empty line, the one that would become number 12. The 11th sighting came on a night the plow blades screamed against ice, and the wind tore at the cab like fists. At 2:47 a.m., the figure materialized not on the shoulder, but just beyond the headlight cone, solid as a man. Stephen wrenched the wheel. The plow fishtailed, and the blade clipped the guardrail with a shriek of torn metal.
It was closer than ever. I smelled wet wool and something like old, wet earth.
He regained control and slowed to a crawl. In the rearview mirror, the figure dissolved into the white. He drove straight to the depot, ignoring the final 2 miles of his shift. An hour later, he sat in the diner with Halpern.
Cole, you look like you saw a ghost, and I am saying that literally. What the hell happened out there?
It stepped into the road. It never has before. I almost hit it, or it almost hit me. I don't know anymore.
Maybe it's a warning, like your Frank said, or maybe it's just a freak reflection off a snowbank. Old-timers can be.
Number. Next time I see it, I stop the plow. I have to know what it wants, even if it's the last thing I do.
That night, he unlocked his door and froze. The brown coat he kept in the closet now hung from the hook by the front door. He hadn't moved it. No one else had a key. The wool was damp, but no footprints marred the hallway floor.
I left it in the closet. This morning, it was there. Now it's here, as if someone wore it outside.
He barely slept. When exhaustion finally pulled him under, he dreamed of an old gold-framed mirror standing upright in the snow. In the glass, his own face stared back, weathered, gray-bearded, eyes calm and knowing. The reflection raised a gloved hand. Stephen woke gasping, the clock beside him glowing 2:47 a.m. He told Halpern over coffee at the diner. Chris stirred his cup, not meeting his eyes.
A dream, Cole. You are rattled. The old man's story, the near miss on the pass, it's all mixing together.
Maybe. But what if the figure I keep seeing is me? My future self, coming back to warn me, or to collect? The thought burrowed in. He would not wear that coat again, and he would not look in mirrors after midnight.
2 days later, a storm slammed the Sierra so hard Caltrans ordered all drivers out, no exceptions. Stephen sat in the yard, hands frozen on the wheel, his route sheet forcing him past mile marker 174.
He tried to swap shifts. No one wanted this run. The mountain was calling him back.
At 2:47 a.m., the headlights caught the familiar brown coat standing directly in the plow's path. The engine coughed and died. Every dashboard light flickered out, leaving only the howl of wind.
It was waiting, not for the truck to stop, for him to walk out.
He tried the ignition, nothing. His breath fogged the glass as the figure took one step closer. Then, a jolt. The engine roared back, and the headlights blazed. The road ahead was empty.
He didn't wait to understand. He slammed the accelerator and didn't slow until the depot lights came into view.
The next time would be number 12. He would stop, and he would finally see its face. Chris Halpern had his own ghost that night. Near the old railroad cut, a pioneer figure walked through his headlights and vanished.
Cole, I saw something. A pioneer, right in the road. It walked straight through the beams and there were no footprints.
Stephen met him at the depot an hour later. The two sat in the plow cab, heater blowing, and spoke in low voices.
I was wrong, Cole. All those times I joked, I saw it. The same cold, the same silence. We need to end this.
And how? I've been running from it for years. Next time I see it, I am stopping, but you don't have to be there.
I am not letting you face it alone. You said it yourself. Something's out there. 2 pairs of eyes are better than 1.
All right, next storm, we ride together. Mile marker 174. We stop and we get answers.
They shook on it. Outside, the first flakes of the next storm were already beginning to fall.
The 12th would be the last. One way or another, this had to end.
They both knew that at mile marker 174, something was waiting. But now, they were going to meet it together. February 2024. A 5-foot whiteout swallowed Donner Pass. Stephen and Chris rolled through the dark, wipers screaming.
There it is. Chris, stay in the cab. No matter what, don't get out.
The plow shuddered to a halt. Stephen pushed open the door and stepped into the screaming wind. 40 feet ahead, the brown-coated figure stood motionless, back turned, just as it had 11 times before. Stephen's boots crunched on frozen asphalt. He stopped 5 feet short, close enough to see the wool's weave.
The coat. It's the exact same cut. The one from my closet. The one I swore I'd never wear again.
With a slow, deliberate motion, the figure began to turn. The headlights caught the first lines of an old man's face. Stephen Cole stared into his own eyes. The man was at least 70, gray-bearded, the same jaw, the same scar on the chin. Stephen stumbled backward, a strangled sound escaping his throat. The phantom did not advance. It simply watched him with calm, terrible patience. The ghost at mile marker 174 was himself, and it was waiting to speak.
Don't keep plowing past 65. The road takes you on the 13th time. I came back to tell you.
Why? How is this possible? Are you me or some kind of thing?
I am what happens if you don't listen. The mountain keeps us, all of us.
He swept his arm toward the shoulder. In the snow beyond the headlights, other silhouettes emerged, men in modern gear, in pioneer coats, their faces half hidden.
I am not the only one waiting at mile marker 174. Every driver the road has kept is still here.
He's been warning me for years. 11 times. But this is the first time he's spoken. The number 12 is a window, not a sentence.
You have to choose. Retire before 65, or the road claims you the next time. There is no third option.
Stephen opened his mouth to ask more, but the older figure was already fading, the snow reclaiming its shape. The other figures dissolved with him, until only Stephen Cole stood alone on the shoulder in the whiteout, the warning still ringing in his ears.
65. I have 3 years. I'll retire tomorrow if I have to. No more night shifts. No more mile 174.
Stephen stumbled back to the cab, his face a mask of shock. Chris stared through the windshield, seeing only empty snow.
Cole, what was that? You were talking to nothing. I saw your lips move, but there was no one there.
It was me, Chris. Older. He said the road takes me on the 13th time if I don't retire before 65.
You are telling me your own ghost showed up to warn you? Cole, maybe the stress finally broke something.
Look at the logbook. 11 entries before tonight. The coat I saw on him. It's the same one hanging in my closet.
They drove back to the depot in silence. The storm was easing, but the weight inside the cab had only thickened.
I am done, Chris. Tomorrow morning I hand in my papers. I won't risk that 13th time.
You know the union rules. They can't let you walk mid-season. You'll have to work until spring.
The next morning, Stephen filed his retirement notice. His supervisor was sympathetic but firm. The contract required 60 days.
60 more days of winter. I'll trade every night shift I can. I will not die at mile marker 174.
Later that morning, Stephen walked out of the supervisor's office, with his retirement on file. The fluorescent lights felt colder than any blizzard.
He traded every night shift he could. But the roster was thin, and the storms kept coming.
Every evening he found himself standing in front of the closet, staring at the brown coat like it was a living thing.
It's the exact same coat, not a copy, the same one. How? And if I burn it, will it even matter? Chris, I am not wearing that coat again. Not ever. It's like a piece of him, of me, and I won't give it a chance to pull me back.
The days became a countdown. 40 days, 30 days. Every shift felt borrowed. He worked only daylight hours, but even in the weak winter sun, mile marker 174 seemed to watch him from the corner of his eye.
He would not wear that coat, but he couldn't throw it out. Some part of him believed that if he did, the older version would come for him sooner.
2 weeks before his last day, a blizzard warning flashed across his phone. He stared at it, heart sinking. He knew the mountain wasn't done with him yet. The last storm of his career was coming, and it was a monster. The blizzard slammed the Sierra with record force. 2 hours before his shift, the phone rang. Every driver was activated, and refusal meant suspension.
I can't lose my pension, Chris. They've got me, but I am not facing it alone tonight. You ride with me.
They rolled out into the whiteout, the plow's blade carving a tunnel through 5-foot drifts. The mile markers ticked by like a countdown. At 2:47 a.m., the cab radio dissolved into a shriek of static. A voice, or many, seemed to claw through the noise. A figure materialized at the edge of the headlights, gaunt, hollow-eyed, wearing a broken Caltrans jacket. It wasn't the older Stephen.
Cole, I see it. That's not you. That's something else. What do we do?
We don't stop. It's trying to pull us in.
A translucent hand slammed against the windshield from outside, frost spiderwebbing across the glass. Stephen floored the accelerator. The plow surged forward, and the figure dissolved into the storm. In the rear view, the road behind them seethed with half-seen silhouettes. Far above, a faint outline of the older Stephen watched, then vanished. That morning, Stephen dragged the brown coat to the backyard. He doused it in lighter fluid and flicked a match at the fabric. The wool curled and blackened, sending up a greasy smoke. He watched until only ash remained, then buried the tin deep in the yard.
You really think burning it will change anything? The older you didn't say you needed the coat.
Maybe not, but it was there. Every time I saw him, I couldn't look at it anymore. Now it's gone, and so is that link.
The final 2 weeks, he worked only day shifts, avoiding the pass after dark. He never drove past mile marker 174 again. On the morning of his last shift, he circled the date on the calendar. 30 more minutes, and he'd be free of the mountain forever. He handed in his keys and walked out of the depot for the last time. The sun felt like a victory. He'd fought 23 winters to earn.
You made it, Cole. No 13th time. The old man was right. You just had to listen.
I listened, and I'll never drive I-80 again. Not for any reason. But even as he said it, a chill settled in his chest. The coat was ash, but the memory of that older face would outlast the smoke.
That night, a quiet compulsion pulled Stephen from his house. He drove his personal truck onto I-80, alone, under a moonlit sky. He told himself it was a farewell. 23 winters deserved a final pass under a clear sky. At 2:47 a.m., the headlights brushed mile marker 174. The road was empty, the shoulder clean of footprints. He slowed to a crawl, holding his breath. Nothing stood there. For the first time in a decade, the marker was just a sign. But as he passed, the cab radio crackled with static. Then, a voice, older, echoing, unmistakably his own, filled the silence.
Don't keep plowing past 65.
Stephen's hands turned to ice on the wheel. He didn't answer. He accelerated until the radio fell silent. He didn't stop until he reached his driveway. The voice had felt less like a warning and more like a receipt. The next morning, he handed in his keys without ceremony. He was officially retired.
He had listened. The road had released him. But the voice on the radio proved the mountain never forgets.
The retirement party was subdued. Coffee mugs instead of champagne. A few quiet nods from the drivers who knew.
You actually did it, Cole. How does it feel?
Like I just outran something that's still chasing me. Don't ever stop at mile marker 174 after dark.
I won't. I've seen enough. You take care of yourself.
He kept a worn photograph of his plow in his wallet, a reminder of the road he escaped. The brown coat may have been ash, but its memory curled through his mind like a fire that never went out.
Some nights, he still felt its weight on his shoulders, even when he wore nothing.
He left the plow world behind, but the warning had carved a permanent caution into him. The coat in the locker, the last piece of that life, sat with its door slightly ajar, waiting.
He had listened, but the mountain had heard him too.
1 year later, on a quiet January afternoon, Stephen's phone rang. Chris Halpern's voice was tight.
Cole, there's been an accident. A new kid, Tom, crashed his plow at mile marker 174. He's alive, but he's saying things.
Stephen found him in a county hospital bed, bandaged and pale, a cast on his left arm.
I saw this old guy. Brown coat. He just walked into the road. I swerved, but he was right there. He spoke. He said, "Not yet, but soon." Then he was gone. No footprints, nothing. Listen to me. Retire. Retire before you hit 65. Don't push it. I am not joking. You sound like you know what it was. I saw him too, 12 times. He warned me, and I got out. You have a chance. Don't waste it.
Later, Stephen sat in his truck outside the hospital. The cycle hadn't broken. It had simply chosen a new driver.
The old man was right. He wasn't the only one waiting. The road was a hungry thing, and it was always looking for someone to take.
He stepped out of his truck at mile marker 174, the new brown coat over his arm, the granite silent under the winter sun. He draped the coat over the cold guardrail. Its sleeves hung limp, waiting for a wind that did not come.
I listened. I stopped before the road could take me. Take this instead.
The pass offered no reply, and then, from the furthest edge of his vision, the trees began to stir. Faint outlines of figures stood among the pines, pioneer coats, Caltrans jackets, rippling at the edges like heat haze. They were not solid, yet unmistakable. The same ones he had seen with his older self on that storm night. They waited, as if the coat was a receipt for a debt that could never be fully paid.
He thought of Tom, of Frank's partner, of the older him. The offering didn't free them. It only bought time.
He turned to his truck, then looked back. The coat hung there, a solitary marker against the snow. He drove away. The road behind was empty, but the silence was heavier than any storm he had ever plowed through. A small cake with a single candle sat on his kitchen table. The number 65 flickered in the quiet dark. Outside the window, snow was falling, the same kind of heavy flake that had accompanied every sighting on the pass.
He stared at the flame. If he had kept driving, tonight would have been the 13th time. He would have been at mile marker 174 at 2:47 a.m.
He pulled out the worn photograph of his old plow truck, the one he kept in his wallet.
I made it. I listened. I am still here.
A chill brushed the back of his neck. In the dark window glass, beyond the reflection of his own face, another shape slowly clarified. It was him, older, the same calm eyes that had spoken in the blizzard. The reflection was faint, superimposed over his own, as if two versions of himself occupied the same glass. He held his breath. The image held for a count of 3, then dissolved, leaving only his own tired face staring back. He didn't scream. He didn't move. The road had not forgotten. It was simply waiting.
He blew out the candle, and the room filled with the scent of wax and snow. He was safe, but the mountain knew he had only borrowed the time.
A year later, another blizzard scraped the pass. Stephen saw the news while nursing a cold coffee. A Caltrans plow driver had been reported missing. His abandoned truck was found stopped near mile marker 174. He called Halpern. The phone rang twice before Chris picked up, his voice hollow.
You saw the news.
Tell me they found him.
Number. The truck was there. Engine running, door open, no footprints, no sign of the driver.
A long silence stretched between them, filled only by the crackle of the line.
Just empty. Like Frank's partner, like the others.
He thought of Frank's partner, of the old man in the mirror. The road had taken another.
He closed his eyes and saw a mile marker, 174, the coat on the rail, the shadows in the trees, and knew the cycle would never end. Late that night, Stephen opened his closet. Inside, on the bare hook, hung the brown coat, not the replacement he had left on the guardrail. The original, pristine wool, no scent of smoke.
I burned you. I watched the ashes bury. Yet here you are, as if the fire never touched you.
He didn't reach for it. He understood. The coat was part of him, and the road would always have a piece. Slowly, without any hand, the closet door began to close. Stephen didn't stop it. In the shrinking gap, the coat seemed to shift, as though settling onto shoulders. Just before the door sealed shut, a hand reached out from inside the darkness and claimed the coat sleeve. The door clicked shut. In the dark window reflection, 2 versions of Stephen Cole watched each other for the last time. The older one nodded, then faded, leaving only the silence of a man who will never drive a -80 again and yet may still be called.